Hey guys, so I recently wrote an article called 9 Tips for Cob House Building Code Approval, and I'm going to go through this article briefly here in this video. So this is probably the most frequently asked question that I get in regards to cob homes and earthen homes and natural homes, is just how do you deal with the building codes? Because for cob anyway, there's no official building code, so that it makes things really difficult. Trying to work with building departments and pass inspections and get building code approval. So how do you work around that, and how do you make this possible, building with earth materials when there's no official building code to go by? So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit here, and give you these 9 tips. And you don't have to use every tip here. Sometimes just using one of them can really make a difference. So you know, pick which ones work for your situation, and go from there. But the first one is to have a good foundation. So I've seen a lot of cob buildings, a lot of natural builders building, to be honest, really poor foundations, and this is a real big turn off for building departments. They get really skeptical and worried when they see a poorly done foundation, so the best thing you can do if you want to pass codes is to follow the existing codes for foundations, and I really recommend just going with conventional concrete foundations if you're doing a cob building or any type of earthen mass building. That it'll be a very solid foundation to support the weight of the walls and the building, and it'll pass codes. So I recommend the concrete foundations, pretty much using conventional methods and materials, rebar and all that. And I've got a separate video link and a lot of information in this article, which I'm going to link to in the bottom description of this video, so you'll get a lot more information on that. But that's a big point for getting building code approval, is to have a really good foundation to start with. So more details in the separate article, and I'll go to the next point here. So next point is to have a post and beam structure. So basically what this does is it kind of alleviates the skepticism that a lot of code officials have, because they don't understand cob and its load-bearing capacity, and they'll see that the building is actually structured and supported by a post and beam structure, as opposed to being supported by the cob walls or the earth walls, and so they're not so worried about the structure collapsing or falling down. So you can actually put up your post and beam structure and your roof first, and then afterwards come in and fill in with the cob or whatever other material you have, whether that's earthen material or straw bale even. Okay, so again, there's more information in the article, but let me go to the next point here. Okay, so point 3 is insulated walls. So cob and earth materials literally have no insulation to them. It's something like R3 for a whole foot thickness of cob wall, so it's virtually nothing, and it doesn't meet code requirements. So there's some workarounds to this, and I've got a separate video on this topic entirely. What they do a lot of the time in cold climates, especially with rammed earth, is they'll sandwich a layer of insulation in between the rammed earth, and you can do the same thing with cob. This isn't completely natural, and has a lot of controversy around this method, but it's a really good workaround, and something definitely to consider if you're planning to build with earthen materials in a cold climate. Okay, point number 4 is to add cement to your cob mixture. Okay, so again, this is not for purist natural builders because you're adding cement, but the cement will add strength to your earth material, whether that's adobe, cob, or rammed earth. And they use this, I believe they use this a lot in the adobe codes in the Southwest. You have to have a certain amount of cement in the adobe for it to pass the adobe code. So you can actually apply this to cob, and it'll help. You could show your local building department the adobe code that exists in whatever state in the Southwest, and they'll be less skeptical, and they might go with your plan. And you might also call, instead of calling it cob, you could call it monolithic adobe, and sometimes that helps as well. Okay, point number 5 is to install a bond beam, and this is actually with more concrete. So the top of the wall is going to have a layer of concrete, and this will hold the walls together. So let me read what I have here real quick. So a bond beam creates a stronger wall system and is also good for earthquake-prone areas. The roof can also help tie the walls together by its strength and connects you to the bond beam. This creates a uniform distribution of earthquake loads onto all the walls of the building, rather than just to those which are perpendicular to the direction of the ground movement. The bond beam also acts as a tension ring that ties all the walls together into one monolithic piece. Okay, so again, there's a little more information in the article I have below, and more links as well. So if you want to learn more about bond beams, you can go there. Okay, point number 6 is to have building designs. So don't just go into your building department and say, hey, I want to build a cob building, and show them some little sketches on your napkin or your notepad, because they're not going to take it seriously. They're going to see it as that you're not prepared to build, and that you don't have a solid plan. So don't go there with your sketches that don't meet up to their standard. It's not to say you have to be an architect or a professional designer, but it's good to have some kind of professional looking design plan when you go and present to them. For example, I learned how to use SketchUp. I didn't go to school for architecture or design, but I can do SketchUp. I can do designs on my own, and it's really not that difficult. If you put in some time, take some time to learn, but anybody can do it, really. Okay, point number 7, is to work with and not against the building department officials. So if you try to work against them, it's going to make your life a whole lot harder, and trying to get your building completed a whole lot harder. A lot of people do try to strategize how they can work around the building department and not have to work with them or go under the radar and things like that. But I really don't recommend that. If you want to build a good building, just be prepared to work with the building officials and try to cooperate as best as you can. And a lot of the time, they just need to be educated on the material, whether it's cob or whatever other earthen material or natural material it is. So, a lot of them are really pretty open-minded. Just, you need to talk to them and educate them, and a lot of the time they'll be pretty willing to work with you. Okay, point number 8 is to start small and simple. So especially if you're new to building or new to cob building or whatever type of building, start small and simple. Don't try to think extravagant designs, like something out of a fairy tale with whimsical curves and crazy things that would require some expert engineering. Just try to, do something easy to start at least. If you have an architect or a structural engineer, that can change things. Maybe they can help you out if you want to do something really nice and extravagant, but I just recommend try to keep it simple, and this will help you get through whatever code difficulties there may be. Okay, and point number 9, the last one, is to just continue to educate yourself on design and cob building, earthen building, natural building. Okay, don't just jump into trying to build something without proper understanding and education, because you're just gonna, there's a lot of places you can mess up. So you want to get as much education and knowledge and understanding as you possibly can before you start building something, especially if it's your own house. You don't want to have troubles, in the future, and look back and say, "Oh God, I wish I had known that back then." So get as much education and learning in prior to building and prior to designing even, and you'll have a much better experience. Okay, so that's the 9 points to help get you building code approval for a cob home or earthen home or pretty much any kind of natural building home. So again, there's a link down in the description that links to the full article I wrote on this, and in this article I actually have several links to videos I've done on these particular topics, and there's a lot of other resources. So yeah, I recommend go check it out and keep educating yourself. Alright, see you next time.